It's here. Let's go. The July update. Let's get started. All right. So if you haven't heard, the July update is coming tomorrow. Tomorrow being the 28th of July. And it is coming. The downtime will be at 8 a.m. Eastern time. And we are going to be excited. There's a ton of stuff in this update. We're going to go over, as you can see here. We are on their official site. They have the update already on there with the pseudo patch notes. We're going to go over a lot of it, but let's be honest, if I was to go over every single thing in here, this video would probably be 2 hours long, and by the time I would upload it, it would be like next week before it officially get uploaded. So no, let's go ahead and we're going to dive into it. We're going to go over a lot of the changes. Sorry if the audio is a little messed up. I am in a new house and I don't have everything situated yet. We have like boxes and stuff everywhere, but they had this update. I wanted to get it to you guys and let you know my thoughts, kind of go over some of the big key aspects of this update because it is massive. So first, of course, we have the Summer Medley Fair event. We're not going to go too in depth on this right now, but essentially this is a place where you can play some music. You get to go fishing, you go dancing. It is essentially a summer party. You're going to get some absolutely crazy rewards. This is by far their most rewarding event they've ever done. It is pretty crazy. You can get guaranteed Lego gear. You can get very cool cosmetic stuff. You can get food. You can get a ton of stuff. This event is crazy. And here we have musical instruments. They're adding this to another profession into the game. You have the guitar, the mandolin, the bass, the drum, and the flute. You can play with your friends. You can play solo. You can do a ton. You can see here when you play these, you're going to get a bunch of buffs. You can play to get a gathering speed buff, territory standing buff, group character XP sharing bonus increase. Like there's a ton of buffs. We're not going to go over every single one of them. Just know you're going to be playing a ton of music because it is so much fun. It is like New World's version of Guitar Hero. Now, maybe not quite as challenging or quite as fun as Guitar Hero. I'm a Guitar Hero fan, if you guys didn't know. But this is going to be a ton of fun. Trust me, this is going to be great. There's also a new dungeon. Now, if you haven't seen the dungeon gear that comes out of here, I will put a link in the description down below because you want to watch this video first. But the dungeon is pretty crazy. It's not terribly complex, but it is really fun and has a lot of really cool gear in it. Go watch that video to see what gear rolls out there. Unless you want to be surprised, then go do it and then watch the video because you still got to watch it. Let's be honest. We have expedition enhancements, new quality of life features that have been introduced to elevate some points of friction in our expedition explorers. You may be asking, what does that mean? We have a group finder now. So doesn't matter. You don't have to spam general chat, recruitment chat, all that stuff. You just have a group finder that you get to use and do whatever you want. And then we have the removal of expedition tuning orbs. So if you want to, run a bunch of mutated orbs, you can run 15 normal expeditions runs per day or 105 a week and 25 mutated expeditions per week. Now, if you were running more than that, because maybe you were doing the selling the Umbral Shards, this may be a little bit of a hit to you, but for the majority of the player base, this is a massive, massive buff. You don't have to use your tuning orbs, but if you have your tuning orbs, don't worry, you're going to get a nice little bonus from them. We might not talk about it here, but essentially you turn your tuning orbs into caches that you'll get during the next update, and you get a lot of cool rewards out of them. And here's actually one of the biggest updates. We're not going to touch on every single time they talk about it, but they have done a massive loot balance rework. From perks that roll on skills or perks that roll on gear, they did a perk change where perks on your weapons will be a lot better, which we're going to talk in a little bit here in the future. But essentially, when a piece of gear drops in the world, it's going to be more tailored to you. Now, there's specific ones that you basically can't roll. There's some that are rarely rolled and stuff like that. We're not going to go too incredibly in depth with it, but just know that as you're doing anything out in the world, the gear that's going to drop is going to be better than what it was before. And they have a mutator loot shift. We're shifting the difficult levels at which loot will unlock. So if you didn't know, there's certain mutated levels. You go you go from 1 to 10. And when you get up to a certain point, that's when you start getting the better gear. The system was originally intended to give players a sense of rewarding progression. It really never did. as they play through the different difficulties, the lower levels didn't feel particularly good. Exactly. You really didn't get anything. Running lower mutators was worthless. We've therefore changed what items unlock at which difficulty level, which should result in a wider variety of lower level rewards. In addition, we've also added another accessory to each mutator. Previously, each mutator dropped 2 of these 3 types of accessories. Now, every mutator will drop all the available. So, you have like the Guardian's Earring and stuff like that drops. And like, for instance, you have the Guardian's Earring, and then there's I forget the name of the amulet, but there was an amulet that dropped in Genesis. So now they're just adding 1 of each, which is going to be great. Now, I don't know if you're still basically only going to be able to get the Legendary and M10s, but we will see. And they got some instance wars previously. Yeah, we're not worried about that too much. We have perk rebalancing, and we're not going to go all of it, but essentially they took a look at the perk system and they did a complete overhaul. Like I said, if it is on your weapon, it is going to be better than if it's not on your weapon, which is going to make those a lot better to roll. They changed a lot of them. They did a ton of balance changes. We're not going to go over the weapon ones too specific, but when we get down a little bit farther, we're going to talk a little bit about the overall ones. Again, loot quality, it is better. Just know that. Better, better, better. Bonus loot drops. We're getting more loot. We feel that the loot obtained from Gypsum Cast was not very rewarding. It was not only not very rewarding, it was absolutely garbo. So they've looted the likelihood of epic or rare loot, which we really don't care about. Really, it's about the legendaries. Epic's not bad. But, yeah. And then the potential bump range expertise has been increased for all gear scores. Boom. If you are a new player, if you are trying to get your expertise from 500 to 600, this is another massive bonus to you. There's another change down below. It was one of the last changes they did on the PTR. And it was a change to where you can do you can get double of the specific gypsum a day, which is really cool. I love getting people to 600 gear score really quickly. And this is going to be a massive buff to you guys. Then we have a new salvaging system. I know we haven't even gotten to the combat changes yet, but we have a salvage system now. Now, I'm not going to go over this in too detail, but essentially know this, that you're going to get a lot more rewards from salvaging stuff. You're going to get stuff, you can get stuff that can craft you some stuff. It'll get you some stuff that, that you can turn into other materials. So we have materia now that if you decon, let's say a Lasbo, because you got it for the 600th time. Let's be honest, nobody's getting 600 Lasbos. But you can decon it. It's going to give you some materia. It can give you some of the salvage materials. And you can turn them into, more weapons of that type. And not like that type, but like for Laz, you'll get like a Lazarus materia, stuff like that. You're also going to get more materials from deconning stuff just out in the open world. A lot of it's BOP stuff that you're going to get a lot of stuff from. But just know that when you salvage stuff, you're going to get it's so much better now than it ever has been. You're not just going to get a couple coins and some salvaging parts, and you're going to get 2,000 salvaging parts, and you're just going to stay there forever. Now you are going to be great. But here is a big thing. Research materials such as weapon scraps that can be used to gain crafting trade skill experience. This means now you can essentially PvE to level your crafting. This is a massive buff. I cannot wait. I have some skills that I haven't leveled yet. Weaponsmithing is almost a 200. All I need is that in the pants, which we'll talk a little bit about that here in a minute. But it's a massive buff. Just know that you're going to be salvaging, getting so much stuff. You're going to be it's going to be actually exciting to, salvage stuff. We have some trade skill changes. They reduce the logging XP pretty much across the board, which is huge. They reduce fishing XP, which is great. I think there's actually going to be a double fishing XP weekend during this event, because you're going to be doing a lot of fishing for the new event. And now everybody's going to be 200 fishing. Woohoo! Rework the experience curve of the first 26 levels of fishing, which is pretty cool, I think. Then remove tiers from reagents. So now all of your reagents are going to have the same tier. Reduce leatherworking XP required, smelting XP required, weaving XP required, woodworking XP required, and stone cutting XP required. So a good change across the board. Everybody can get their refining up. It's going to be great. Crafting, improve the trade skill XP on tier 4 and 5 crafted items for all skills. This is great. Reduce furniture XP from 1 to 200 and reduce the trade skill XP required for weaponsmithing. Remember, I talked about that. And furnish from for levels 1 to 200, which is fantastic. This is a essentially we had that that XP weekend where it was 0.25 or something like that, and this is supposedly even better than that. So Super exciting. Crafting, gathering, and refining clothing. We've rebalanced the drop chance and locations of all trade skill clothing for better improve their availability. So now you're not going to hopefully have to pay 200k for a pair of weaponsmithing pants, which nobody even weaponsmith, but nobody farmed it. So yeah, that's the only piece of weaponsmithing gear I need, and I need like 10 more levels, and I'm actually maxed out on weaponsmithing, so we should get that pretty quickly. And then we got some notable fixes. We're not going to go over it too much. There's some really good changes here in the exploration side. So if you didn't know, all of these bosses essentially dropped some pretty cool gear, but they couldn't roll 600. Now they can. You can see here the following named enemies have been updated to level 63. And they have potential to grant 600 gear score items. I don't know if it is right here. They also made it to where if you have someone that can drop an item, they can drop up to 100 gear score higher. So 500. If they drop 500 item, they have a potential to drop 600 gear score items. Now it is pretty rare. I tested a little bit on PTR and I couldn't get the ill-gotten gains, which drops at 499. I couldn't get it to drop above that, but supposedly they're going to drop 100 score higher. I don't see it on here specifically, but it is in the PTR notes. So I'm assuming it's here, but we're not going to read over every single thing. But there's a lot of other good stuff here. You can look at it, but we're not going to go over absolutely everything. And then we have expeditions. Expedition 2 norms in their crafting material are no longer obtainable, except for breach fragments. We want to keep the different tiers of breach fragments items from breaches for use in crafting, starting with territory supplies, details under economy, which that's a pretty cool change. That can be crafted at the stone cutting station, have been replaced with armament chests. Normal expedition armaments provide loot rolls, and then mutated expedition armaments provide loot rolls on each of the final bosses of expeditions. This means you can basically craft the tuning orbs, but they're essentially going to be like little caches. And you see here 1250 umbral shards, so it's going to be really good. And all armaments, and that's just from the mutated expedition armaments. Same thing with your mutated caches, by the way. They're going to give you 1250 every time. All armaments will provide coin equal to roughly 50% of the equivalent coin cost to purchase an expedition tuning orb from the faction vendor, which we saw that, and I have a video if you want to see that. We're going to put it in the description as well of me opening up a bunch of these caches. The following expedition tuning orbs crafting materials no longer exist and will be converted into different types of breaches. We have the cores, the fragments, undying earth, all that good stuff. Remove item durability loss in expeditions, which is cool. Coin rewards changes. Just know that they essentially nerfed expeditions by 50%, but they have these little essentially bags or boxes that you can get that gives you, yeah, here you go, 500 coins. So just know that, and there's some changes there. And then we have general. We're not going to go in depth here, but they get some changes to some of the dungeons. Mutators, they kind of shift around some of the power. Some quests, world AI, a little bit changes. They updated the damage type of disease grenade from strike to nature, which is cool. Yeah, cool. Then we have some expedition stuff, which we're not terribly worried about. But combat changes. We are already 13 minutes and we haven't even started talking about the combat changes. Health and damage display. So they just adjusted the healing flyout numbers to no longer be limited to if the healer is greater than 5% of your HP. So if the heal is under 5% of HP, you'll see the numbers now. Set all persistent healing status effects that are either small ticks of healing or inactive healing to not show healing numbers flyouts. Health display will no longer show 0 if the player is still alive. And increase the number of decimal points, which is, man. So we do have some pretty big attribute bonus changes here. Is this where they talk about it? Here's where they talk about some of them. So reduce the stamina damage increase from the 150 strength attribute bonus from 50 to 25. They've actually nerfed this quite a few times now. So they're trying to make it better for you to block, but they said there's going to be a big block change coming down the pipe. Then also limited the attribute to only apply to light attacks. So this means that when they heavy attack, they're not going to get a big bonus, but it's still blocking. It's not going to be something you're going to want to do unless you have a sword and shield, and really a tower shield. But this is a pretty big change. Updated the 200 Constitution attribute bonus to also increase elemental armor by 10%. So it now increases physical and elemental armor by 10%. This is actually a pretty massive change. This is going to possibly shake up how some people put gems in their armor and stuff like that. And of course, in wars and stuff like that, Ice damage is all over the place. Next patch, I can see Fire Staff being all over the place. So this is a massive change here. So if you're running a 150, 350 build, you might, or 350, 150 build, you might want to change up if you're getting killed a little bit too much by elemental. Going ahead and slapping that 200 con passive on there and losing a little bit of damage. But you're going to be a little bit more tanky boy. Updated tooltip for the 250 dexterity attribute bonus to indicate that it only triggers on random critical hits. So if you don't know what this means, essentially, if you headshot someone, that is not a random crit. That is a headshot, and it's going to be triggered differently, so you're not going to get the bonus here, the 250 dex passive. That is if you, and your dodge crit. If you dodge guaranteed crit, I believe this isn't going to work, but if you're just like basic attacking a target, not moving, you hit him in the chest, and it crits, that's a random crit. You didn't know if you were going to crit. So they changed that passive there. And then mana, stamina, and revives. We're not going to go over this too much, but they removed the 1 second mana regeneration delay that triggers when mana is consumed. Cool. And then some changes. You're not going to be able to jump shoot and get your stamina back now. If you're jumping, you do not get stamina regen. So your jump shooting bow guys, yeah, get cucked, right? Notable bug fixes. We're not going to look at that too much. Weapon updates. Update the description of several weapons, which is cool. The blunderbuss. Now we have the bow. This is the biggest changes. I have a couple videos about the bow, but they added a cancel window to rapid shot. Yeah, they fixed an issue with rapid shot and explosive arrow, which used to be splinter shot. Add the ability zoom to rapid shot and explosive arrow, so you can zoom in to get that real tight coverage. And fix a couple issues preventing dodge canceling and reloading while exiting aim down sight. But here's the big things. They have reduced poison shots direct hit passive from 150 to 100. Remove the stagger from penetrating shot. Splinter shot is now explosive arrow. We'll put a video in the description down below about the bow. This ability is a lot of fun. And then here it is. Explosive arrow fires an arrow that basically explodes, dealing a small amount of damage. Then 135% damage to all targets within 2.5 meter radius. You have flame arrow, basically direct hits, deal a burn. Containment detonation, explosive damage increased to 170% damage, which is massive, but the AoE radius is 1.3 meters. And then updated the empowering splinter shot to empowering explosive arrow. Functionality remains the same. This perk is really good on this weapon, and the explosion radius procs it as well. You do not have to direct hit it, so this is really good. Then they gave basically a 10% decrease in bow's damage with these two passives right here. This is when you dodge. You used to get 20% damage. Now you get 15. And then if you were over 10 meters away, instead of 20% damage, you'll get 10. So they have a couple changes here to Fire Staff that are actually really, really good for Fire Staff. Fire Staff gets a pretty big buff this patch. Fixed an issue that caused efficient burnout perk to trigger even if burnout the ability wasn't interrupted. There's actually a change to this perk as well that basically states that when you use this, you're going to get an empower similar to explosive arrow on your next attack. Meteor now goes from 34% base damage to 75% base damage, and it in an update to clarify a 75% or 70.75 second tick rate. There's also they updated the the perk here to give you stacks of empower, which is actually really good. This meteor shower, I don't know if it's going to be meta because you're still probably going to want to run burnout, but I can definitely see a playstyle where you run meteor shower, burnout, and fireball. Maybe drop pillar or flamethrower if you're looking to be like more of a caster mage. Because the perk here, you get a stacking empowerment every time your meteor hits. Once you get to 10, and it can proc on multiple enemies at a time, you'll get 10 seconds of empowerment, and it's a pretty big bonus. And then we have Judgment of Helios, goes from 30% to 40%, which is huge. And then fix an issue with Pillar of Fire, which is interesting. Great Axe got some bug fixes here, which are pretty good. And then we have a pretty massive rework to Hatchet. We're not going to go over all of it because it is a lot, and this video already is 20 minutes long. But just know they basically updated the throwing side of Hatchet with a few nerfs to the regular side of Hatchet. But with the nerfs, they did make it right here, extended the subsequent Hatchet light attack hitbox to make them more in line with the first hit. The light attack now chain is more consistent. Essentially, they added a little bit more gap closer. Your hitbox, or I forget what they call it. Your tracking's a lot better on the Hatchet now. So you can kind of chase targets down a little bit better than you could before, which is great. It feels great on the PTR. And then we have a bunch of throwing changes. They reduce rending throws damage by 10%. You might be like, Parfax, they're supposed to buff. There are some buffs here, but they adjusted the placement of the hatchet as they're thrown more in line with the player's reticle. They slightly reduce the block stamina. All throws no longer need a passive to unlock to be able to critical hit, which is great. Then we have targeted impact upgrade. Upgrade the functionality to extend the duration of rend, and then decrease the distance required from 8 to 6. Social distancing, you just jump back further. It does less damage, but you add a stagger to it. You get a nice little bit longer iframe, and increase the base slow effectiveness from 15 for 3 seconds to 25 for 5 seconds, which is a pretty big bonus here. And then quick power upgrade, previously granted 30% haste for 3 seconds when social distancing hits, now grants 20 for 6. The stay back upgrade, upgraded the functionality to root players for 1 second if the target is further than 6 meters away. Infected throw got a really nice sped up animation. They reduced the damage from 165 to 120. They increased the projectile speed. It is still a really good ability. The damage nerf I think is a little bit too much, but you know, everybody's complained, well, the hatchet's OP. With people don't use the throwing side of the hatchet, so you need to give them the reason. It's still gonna be fun to use, but I'm a little sad to see that huge nerf. And then mortal power upgrade, aim throw upgrades. We're not gonna go over everything, but just know they did a massive rework to the throwing side. You did reduce some passive here, especially for the left side of the tree. Reduce passive damage bonus from 15 to 10%. And then there's another one, reduced buff extension time. There's another one here that reduced. Oh, here we go. Relentless Fury reduced the power of 30 from 30% to 10%, but increased the duration from 3 to 5% seconds. This is the heavy attack passive. You get the 30% power. Now you're only going to get 10, but instead of 3 seconds, it's 5. So pretty big nerf. And then this one, the reduced debuff. No, not the debuff extension. The reduce the passive bonus damage from 15 to 10%. I think this is the one that now can trigger on your throwing hatchet side as well. So that's really good. Ice Golem, they got a nerf here. The 1 second cooldown to pylon dodge upgrade. So essentially, if you didn't know, you could put down your pylon that instantly dodge, and your pylon would go attack. So you'd get a double attack with it. You cannot do that anymore. There's a 1 second delay. Life Staff got some fixes. Musket got some fixes. Rapier, they did redo Rapier's flourish and finish attack to more closely match the ability's hit areas. They made it a little bit better. They did a little tiny different thing here with Cyclone, remove the pushback from the base spear ability Cyclone. Grid is now Cyclone ability by default, which is great, and is no longer tied to the strong momentum upgrade. They just gave the knockback on the strong momentum. So this might be a decent little skill. We'll see. Leeching Cyclone's okay, but we'll see this ability. The spear has a lot of good abilities, so it's hard to sneak in another one. So here, there's something. So we'll talk about this. So Sword and Shield, who says, you know, fix an issue with Defiant Stance. We have fixed an issue that caused sword heavy attacks not obtain grit, which is great. Updated Defiant Stance. Fixed an issue that caused long swords empowering whirling blades to not be provided. Fixed an issue that caused sheathing sword and shield animations to pause when a player starts to run. Fixed an issue that caused a player to gain armor bonus from shield without having sword equipped. The thing that I don't see here that they had on the PTR is, and maybe it's down a little further, but they removed the stagger from Leaping Strike. I don't see it here. Maybe it's down below. I did do a quick skim over all these, but yeah, it's pretty interesting. I figured I would see it in this section right here, but I do not see it. So just note that it might not be right here, but it could be actually in the patch. We have a nice little fix here, and then reduced Oblivions and power from 20 to 15%, which is a small nerf. Then reduced light attack damage of Void Blade by 10% across the board here, which is understandable. That ability was pretty crazy. Now, we're not going to go over all the perks because there are a ton. And again, we are pretty long in this video. But they changed the way perks roll, so you're going to be able to craft a lot better gear now. It's going to be a little bit better. They did update the description for a lot of things here, so you can, if they're blocked, you can still get these. So let's go down a few things. We're not going to go down all these. There are so many. If you want to see these, please, please, please look at them. They did update penetrating backstab and penetrating headshot to be basically like a rogue, which is great, and Vorpal. So if you have like some of those weapons like the bow, it could be really good next patch if you get the headshots with it. It's essentially a Vorpal, but for, when people are bruisers and stuff like that. If you have a lot of defenses, this is going to be really good. So it's supposed to be better against the bruiser and not as good against the light armor targets. So that a bow could be pretty good, but we will see. Here is the other attribute threshold bonuses I was talking about. So the 50 strength passive affects both light and heavy attacks by 10%. What they don't say here is physical light and heavy attacks. So like the bow can get a benefit from this, the musket as well. Dex now 50% gives you 10% just base crit. Focus gives you 5% ability reduction. Intelligence gives you 10% crit damage. The 100% strength now grants 5% more to slashing and strike damage. Intelligence threshold now grants 10% more damage to magic basic attacks. So pretty cool stuff there. Then we have some really good armor perk changes. So we're not going to go over all of these, but like Freedom got a nice bonus, and they got the same basically for all of these down here. They're going to go from 7.8% to 10.6%. This, especially for Freedom, this is a massive change because now you don't need nearly as many pieces of Freedom. I don't have the exact number, how many pieces, but before you needed 3 to basically even be worth it at all. Now you only need 2, but I think if you get to 3, you'll basically be like almost capped. So Freedom got a massive buff here, and so did Vigor. Invigorated Refreshing Ward now goes from 5 hits to 4. Refreshing Evasion got a nerf, so that is a pretty downside if you're a big Refreshing Evasion fan like I am. And then they have Reinforced Logging Mining. Basically, they are going to be pretty hard to get. Same thing with your wards. They are, that can roll on shield, but I'm pretty sure up top you cannot. It's harder to roll these now. And they reduce the chance the following will be generated in crafting. So your rogues, your banes, and accuracy, which is cool. So yeah, these are pretty big buffs. Now, I know Invigorated and Vigor have been useless before, but these can maybe, if you can get 5 pieces of this, and you're looking at like 65s, I don't know, I'm not going to do the percentages, 5s, like 65, 70%. It's actually pretty big for these. So we'll see. I don't think you'll want them over something like Freedom, but they're not really a useless perk anymore. So we have a huge change to weapon perks across the board. Keenly Jagged got a buff. Keen Speed got a nerf / buff. It's a nerf to specific builds, but kind of a buff to others. This is definitely a buff to weapons that want to put it on their back bar, get the Keen Speed proc, and then swap over to their other bar. Chain got a buff. Pretty much everything got a buff that wasn't Vicious, Keen, Thwarting Strikes, Rogue, Vorpal. Those are the big ones that didn't get a buff, but they have so many buffs across the board. Attunements got a massive buff. They're going to go from 15% for 2 seconds to 18% every 1 second. This is such a massive, massive buff to attunements. It's pretty crazy. And we have some more. We have Amending Infected Throw. It causes exhaustion now. We have Change the Hatchet skill perk Refreshing and remove the gem slot from the crest reward. So we really don't care about that. But Amulet perks, this is a pretty big change. The wards that are on the protections that are on your Amulet perks are now going to go to 10% reduction. So that's actually pretty massive. If you're going against bruisers are always in the meta. If you have slashing, 10% slashing on your Amulet is pretty crazy. Alacrity now is going to increase your haste by 30%, empowered 30%, fortified 30%. They have the mana recovery cooldown. They have, these are not going to be dropped or crafted nearly as much. Shirking Dot Cleanse got a massive cooldown reduction, so you get a lot more power from your amulets, and you can go to more of a specialized amulet, which is going to be really cool. And they got sort of the same thing here on the ring perk. Siphoning decreased the cooldown from 10 seconds to 2 seconds and reduce this chance this perk will be generated in the crafting, which is massive. If you want to just have a build that never runs out of mana, Siphoning is your go-to. And then here's a pretty big change for PvE and PvP. Poisoning, Crippling, Enfeebling, Infected increase the duration from the range of 5% to 15% to a range of 10 to 30%. So this is huge, especially for Infected. And Poisoning for like the bow, if you have the Poisoning. There's actually a lot of things here. These are great. This is a great change. This is going to be actually a really good perk on some of your rings now. Focus, increase the effectiveness from a range of 5 to 10% essentially to 25 to 49. So massive, massive, massive. Brilliant. Increase max mana from a range of 5 to 10 to 10 to 20. So these are huge, huge bonuses to the perks that people basically didn't want. Earrings, again, we have a lot more buffs. Focus reduced the mana regeneration from a range of 5 to 9.8 to a range of 15 to 29.4%. Despise Beloved, we really don't care about those. In Evasion, reduce the chance that this perk will be generated. The crafting drop, and then Mana Toast, Health Toast, Arcanist, Armor, and Cooking, reduce the chances these perks can generate while crafting or dropped. So, yeah. And then we have skill perks, and we're not going to go over all these, but just note that on the weapon, it gets better, and on the armor, it is, some of them got buffs, some of them didn't. We're just going to go down to the one really big one, the one that I think is probably going to be the biggest thing, and that is down here on the Fire Staff. And we have, where is it at? Empowering Fireball is going to go from 32% to 58%. So, yeah, pretty big change. We're not going to go over all this because this would just be a massive, massive video. But just note, I'll put a link in the description below so you guys can go watch it. But it is absolutely a massive change. All these perks got changed. I could make an hour video talking about each one of these perks. I did do a video, put it again in the description down below, talking about these and kind of what my favorites are for pretty much every weapon. So if you want to really dive deep into those and you don't really want to have to read everything, I'll put the link in the description so you guys can go watch it. Basically, Outpost Rush, they got the loot is better. That's what you best take from here. They up the turret damage, the ballista damage, all that stuff. There's some pretty cool stuff. So get into LPR because it's going to be a lot of fun next patch. And then PvP arenas, they reworked the consumables. So now you can use your own consumables, but they do not get used. So that is a great, great change. Invites are now sent from game mode instead of a blank player, which is really cool. Bag perks will now continue to function when the reminder of the round, the spectator box. So that's cool. So like you don't get encumbered and stuff like that. Some small changes to wars, economy, progression, and gearing. Again, massive changes. All crafting and refining clothing have had their gear scores fixed to make searching and buying orders of the trading post easier. So basically, I don't know if it is specifically talking about right here. They now have the ability to search stuff on the trade post. It is a massive, massive, massive update for the trade post. You can now just search perks and search stuff. It is absolutely fantastic. We are in probably the 20th century. I'm so excited for it. It's going to be a lot of fun. Not arena patterns clothing costs have been reduced by 66%. Also cool. High level crafting materials and refined materials rarity have been updated. So it's got a little bit of a change in color here. Upgraded Isabella's amulet to epic quality, better reflecting its importance both as a pre-order bonus and a lore. Its stats remain unchanged, so nothing to change there. Remove the ability to purchase chisels from the faction shop. Faction shop is going to be kind of dead next patch. You're going to get your gypsum orb, and that's about it. Yeah, so hopefully they do a nice little rework to that. Hidden stashes have been taking a hiatus because it's a summer medley event, and you're going to just go up to the towns to get your gypsum. Actually, I found that on the diamonds you get more in this event, so it's going to be really cool. Added 4 new ice gauntlets in the game. Added 4 new ice gauntlets to the game. Crystal Flow, Frost Tips, Burrell, and Black Ice, which are really cool. Gear, loot, drop chances. Basically, this was the change here. You get the plus 100 gear score, increase the drop chance of Briar Buds, just a bunch of changes here. All really good increase. Here's a big one, increase Smolder Hide and Scar Hide drop rates from scanning aptitude boxes, which is really good because these things have been going crazy. Then we have notable fixes, which we're not going to go over. Again, salvage all your stuff because these are really good now. Progression, they basically made it to where players can now obtain 10 Topaz Gypsum per day, allowing 2 Gypsum Orbs crafts. Of course, we want people to get up there as fast as possible. Added a second Gypsum Orb to purchase on the faction shop per day. So that's going to kind of take place if you're mutated orb, you're just going to buy one of those. So really cool. People, get your stuff to 600. There's never been a better patch for a new player to come back. They are doing so many great changes. And if you want to see, if you made it this far, well, let's be honest. If you're watching this far, like the video. Please, like, we are 35 minutes in this video. And if you are hearing this right now, slap the like button, comment down below, and be like, I got you. Just put down in the comment section, I got you. So I know that, you like the video because you got to this point. But new players rejoice because there's a ton of stuff here. I could make 10 videos on why new players should come back because of all the stuff they've changed. But just know you're going to be getting a ton more gypsum per day. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. As somebody that's been to 600 for forever and I'm almost 625 on every weapon, I really hope they continue to make it super easy for people to get up there because people don't really like the grind from 5 to 600. It's not that fun. Let's be honest. PvP track fixed a few issues. Higher amount of Umbra shards are now offered a PvP reward track. Great. For the same salt price, we now properly clear the PvP value of down players. Man. And then fix the notification text when buying an emote. Cool. Some economy here. Fixed an issue that caused tax cooldowns. Renamed housing taxes to housing upkeep. Territory upkeep and penalty related timers will now be paused during maintenance mode. PvP perks are now searchable on the trading post. Great. Added X button to the end of search boxes within crafting stations to be consistent with other search boxes. Added the display window to show the first light refining bonus. That's awesome. And then added territory supplies. Players can now craft 4 different tiers of territory supplies which provide the player with large amounts of territory standing in their current territory, which is great. So if you want to really bump up your territory standing, that's a great way to do it. And there's a lot of bonuses for that. Maybe I'll make a video about that in the future. Territory standings will cost different tiers of volumes of corrupted fragments. That's why you're going to want to do your corrupted fragment farms. Players can craft each tier of items 8 times per week. Added a confirmation notification when initiating a trade. Added a warning notification before crafting an item when near the limit. In-game store. Cool. We're not going to really look at that. Notable fixes. We're not going to really worry about that. Quality of life improvements. Updated the formatting of the cooldown display. The ability slot tooltip on the mastery tree window, which is really cool. The E button now can be rebound. So if you're somebody that doesn't just use WASD and you move your keyboard over a little bit, that is a great quality of life for you. Add a visual cooldown timer to the world transfer button. Adjusted the inventory search bar field to extend properly when displayed past the default of view. Added an animation as inventory slots become unblocked upon leveling up. Added coin amount when salvaging close to the repair part cap. So that's really good. Adjusted star metal and platinum map compass icons to better distinguish readable. So basically they don't look exactly the same. Adjusted some AI, daily mission bonus. Simplified the repair tooltip. When opening the modes menu, it will default to the last mode, which is really cool. Remove the camp button from equipment screen. Added a loop to the waiting emote. Cool. And then improve loading times in crafting screens, which is always great. Fishing quality of life, which is really good. Quality of life improvements, invites, and notifications, which are really cool. Some audio fixes. And after 38 minutes, we have reached the bottom. So let me know in the comment section down below what you guys think of this patch. If you've made it this far, thank you so much. This was probably one of my longest videos ever because there is so much stuff in here and I skipped over such a massive part of it. We will put a link in the description to a lot of things down there. We'll have some videos. We'll have this specific, basically patch notes. It is patch notes, but there are a few things I think they forgot there. So hope you guys enjoyed this video. Like, comment, subscribe, like always, and I cannot wait to see you guys in the next video. Peace.